All right, painters, for this project, the first thing you need to do is choose a gemstone from the pile of papers that I have. This is the one that I've chosen, and then you need to look for 3 colors that you see primarily. Obviously blue, a little green, purple might be a stretch, but that's the 3rd color I'm going to choose. Then you're going to have a paint palette of tempera paint that looks like this. Start with your first hue, which is also another word for a color, and that's my hue right here at the top, or color number 1. And then you're gonna paint in that box. So that's my first color. Make sure you dry your brush between colors because then it will turn this paint into more of like a watercolor, and that's not what we want. Next, we're gonna create different tints and shades and tones. So if you look down this column, it's gonna be all different tints of blue, then it's gonna be different shades of blue, then it's going to be different tones of blue. A tint is when you add white, a shade is when you add black, and a tone is when you add gray. And gray is just white and black added together. So start with your palette and mixing your colors. You're gonna do a lot of mixing. Scoop a little white out and scoop a little black out because you're gonna need both. You also need gray, but that's how you make gray, is black and white. And just do one color or hue at a time. So I'm just gonna stick with blue, and I'm gonna go ahead and get my blue out. And there's 2 shades of blue. There's turquoise and then there's the regular blue. You can choose either one or do a combination of both if that's a color that you're using. All right, so a tint is when I add white. I probably wanna start off with lots of white first, and then I can add more blue. So just a little dip of blue. And there we go. Mix small, don't mix big, because that just spreads your paint around on the palette and not on your paper. So there is my first tint of blue. It's very, very pale. Hard to see on the video, but it looks in person, it looks a little bit bluer. Add a little more blue, and now your tint is a little darker. This is also a way to show value. And then I need tint number 3, so add some more blue. It probably could be a little bit more darker. All right, next I need a shade. So I'm gonna start off with some black and add blue. Black is pretty strong, so you don't need a whole bunch of it. I probably did this way too dark. I started off with too much black. So I want to make that shade number 3 because that's the darkest blue I could have. And then I'm going to just add more blue. Okay, I'm going to go upward with this. So that's shade number 2 because it's just a little bit less dark than the other one. Oh, maybe not. I'm going to add a little more blue. So it's a lot of playing around. It's almost like a recipe when you're cooking. You have to decide how much of this and how much of that to make the perfect recipe of color. All right, lastly is the tone. That's when you're gonna mix and make gray. You're just gonna take your black after you're all finished and your white pile. Actually, just leave your white pile, take some black, put it in there in the white, and there you go, voila, you have your gray. And then, actually, I could use a little bit more white. Don't mix my paint palettes only on your paper, not on the palette. All right, so a little bit more white. So I cleaned my brush before I went into the white. Black is very strong. It takes over everything. It kind of took over my white, made it extra dark. So I probably should just make a new pile, but I'm gonna keep moving on. So now I need more blue. So I'm gonna scoop up some blue right here. And I'm going to make my first tone of blue. So a tone of blue is just adding gray. I'm gonna start at the bottom as well as a dark tone. All right, and then I'm gonna add some more blue. Different tones. And honestly, it doesn't need to be in a specific order of value. I'm gonna turn my gray into a tone right there. So that since it's my last tone, and there we go. Maybe a little more black in there to do it like a darker grayish blue. Perfect. And so it kind of looks like a slate blue. So there's first column number 1, and then you're going to do the same to column number 2 and 3, and then your page will be complete and you will be ready to start painting your gem.